Okie dokie. It's so unfair. Dan always beats me.
Not always, but often.
Awesome.
Can everyone see the screen?
Yep.
Yep. The purpose of the mastermind is to learn leadership, build teams, and create multiple sources of income together.
We are here to inspire, challenge each other, and to reach and exceed goals.
Each member is committed to their own success as well as the success of every member of the group.
We are committed to meeting in person or virtually for 1 hour every day. Every week.
Julie.
We are present. There is no multitasking or distractions during meetings.
We are collaborative. We listen without interrupting, lecturing, or judging.
We're all in fine form today.
We celebrate each other's successes without jealousy.
We are honest and participate by giving thoughtful feedback.
We are open and listen to different perspectives without being defensive or offering excuses.
Was it me again?
We trust fellow members enough to share.
Now, Julie.
We are focused, but we also think it's important to have fun during meetings.
We are real and authentic. This is a no BS zone.
We allow ourselves to become completely aligned with each other and the high forces, one mind, one soul, one love.
Noble Goldman International is a conscious, aware, and engaged global community of abundance and freedom creators.
Our mission is to create 1 million millionaires who are free from the time for money paradigm. We focus on creating multiple streams of income through masterminding, team building, and the effective utilization of internet-based platforms.
The mastermind becomes an opportunity for self-mastery, where the self-transcendent shifts from the me to the we to the us occurs. As congruence and engagement increases, the world's consciousness is then raised, one meaningful and inspired relationship at a time. Apologies, my screen's really tiny.
Oh, you did beautifully.
Yes, thank you. Carly and Coralie and Stan. Welcome.
Yay.
Hey!
You snuck in. So the topic today, Carly and I have been reading to each other the Think and Grow Rich for Women. And it is a really well-written book and has modernized the original text beautifully. I think it translates well to men and women of our current age. So I would even recommend that fellows read it. And if they want to join our 30-day quest, everyone is welcome. So let us know if we start next week. You don't need to have the book just yet, but it would certainly be good to have it eventually. And
Look!
Hey, it arrived.
It got to New Zealand.
So yes, and we've been actually utilising the power of what we learnt last week with Gary and how with our words, how the way we see our words is actually through symbols. We can describe what the word means to other people, but it doesn't truly encapsulate what it means to us. When we look at the symbols symbolise the actual word, it becomes a lot more powerful for us. And Carly and I actually worked on that yesterday, wasn't it? And we worked on faith, which is the chapter we're reading at the moment, and came up with a bit of a process on how to kind of create a bit of a story around the word and actually change how you might feel about it, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's a favourite of Martin's, isn't it, Faith?
Faith, yeah, I think he likes all of them. He knows them all very well. What else was I going to say about the book? Now, so Carly and I are starting this next week, and that's a 30-day quest, so anybody can join that who wants to just talk to us about that later. And after that, I'm probably going to be doing a course within the Vault about how to actually get yourself from an employee mindset or being from working as a home carer to actually looking at multiple sources of income, because it's a completely different mindset and a completely different paradigm. And it requires you to grow in ways that are quite challenging. So we all need a bit of support with that. And I've learned that the hard way as well, coming from accounting background in 30 years and then starting my own business thinking, oh, I'm an accountant, I know how to do this. And there's still a whole lot more to learn. And as well as that, I'm just going to try and add a bit of urgency to this. So yes, we'll be running our 30-day quest, and then I'll be putting this course in the Vault. And Gary's going to be in the Vault soon as well. And this will not be running, because he won't have time to run them both. So speaking of paradigm shifts and personal development and moving on, I really would love to see everybody join Gary in the Vault with this. And we've all been transforming, and it's been beautiful to see everyone's bright, shiny faces become even brighter and shinier every week. But it's time to step up a little bit more for those who haven't joined yet. So I would love to see you all there doing the training with Gary, because it's going to be really powerful. You thought this was good? You thought this was good? Wait till you start the incredible relationships training. So
Yeah,
it
would be awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to give everyone a little bit of a gentle nudge there. The actual topic also came from the reading that we're doing, and it's about what Napoleon Hill treated as autosuggestion. We haven't read the update yet. Well, I think you have, Carly, haven't you? You read the updated chapter. The autosuggestion chapter, which is very much about the subconscious mind. And back in 1937, when this was published, it was a very new kind of concept. And autosuggestion was all about what we do with affirmations now. It's like just keep repeating things until your subconscious mind is eventually subdued into believing them. Whereas Gary's processes happen, you don't need to keep doing these things for 90 days.
No.
You can transform very quickly. So I just wanted to get Gary's take on the autosuggestion side of things. And yeah, everyone's take on it, actually. If we've actually read anything about Napoleon Hill's take on it, or if you've heard the word before, and how you use affirmations.
I'll be happy to talk about that. This is an age-old process of, and it's not a new concept by any means. The Hawaiian people did this really interesting process called ha breathing. And they would sometimes do a ha breathing process for, 3 to 5 hours. And what they were doing was actually building up what they called the mana, or building up the life force in the body. In order to release their prayer, they would be focused on their prayer, but breathing as if building up, and they call it the Dantian in the Taoist tradition, or the Na'au in the Hawaiian tradition, in the center, or I'll say the power center chakra at your navel. And so the whole process is breathing in through the nose and exiting through the nose, but bringing energy into the abdominal area. And then when they felt that they had enough mana built, they would release their prayer. Now, what they were doing in actuality is multi-layered. They were building up, of course, the life force in which they would envision their prayer going out into the universe. They were focusing the mind for 3 to 5 hours on what they wanted to manifest, and then they would release the prayer. Now, You've all heard, I don't know if any of you've been to Hawaii before, but any of you that's been to Hawaii, the Hawaiian people call white people haulis. And the term haole comes from the observation that white people, what it really translates to is people who pray without breathing, people who pray without breath. And the Hawaiian people would watch the Christians in their churches praying. And they were thinking, but they're not putting any energy into the prayer. They're just repeating these words, but not focusing on the prayer. And so the Hawaiian people called white people haulis because they put no focus into the prayer, no breath into the prayer. So when we really start looking at what does it take for us to manifest anything, I'll say this one thing before I speak on that, is that I know this is going to sound a little disappointing, but I'm going to say it anyways because it's my truth anyways, is that I don't always know what's best for me. That I may put and desire something like a whole lot, like I really want this thing, I really, really do. I want to create this, and I want to do that, I want to go over here, and those are my outcomes, and I want to make that happen. But at the same time, if I make all of that happen, but it's actually not in my best spiritual interest, because ultimately at the end of the day, my ego may be satisfied, but my soul will be entrapped or enslaved. If we take into consideration that, and our prayer at the end of every prayer is bring it to me if it's in my highest spiritual good. Keep it away from me if it is not. How many of you have ever set goals before and they didn't manifest? Thank you. How many of you really wanted something to happen and it didn't manifest? Yeah. So then we ask ourselves, we sit back and go, okay, like, well, if this stuff is supposed to work, then why is it not working here? Like, what is it? Why is it not working? This is the answer that I've given myself as I've thought long and hard about it. That we don't always know what is best for us, and we want things that would take us further away from our ultimate objective. I remember this when I don't even know if it was a Taoist saying. It says, I prayed 5 years for this to occur, and I've prayed 10 years to have it go away. So what I have developed is this process of this, because I do believe for us to create anything, we have to set our goal. We have to have a mindset that we can accomplish it. And then we move our life forward in action and thought and in focus of mind to make it manifest. If I knock my head up against the door and it does not open, then I realize, okay, well then it's not the time, and this may not be the arena for me to be playing in. I remember I used to have this outcome where I said, I want 3 large corporate contracts a year that pay me throughout the whole year, 3 large ones that pay me throughout the whole year. I want to manifest anywhere from $500 to $1 million a year. That's what I want. And then I sat back and I was like, okay, like let's say that eventuated. I would be 100% miserable because I would be working literally nonstop. I'd be so thought possessed by all the things that I had to follow, track, and do that I wouldn't be able to meditate. I would have all these things that would be negative ramifications for me if I eventuated that level of work for myself. Could I do it? I would do it, but my whole life balance would start to deteriorate. The most important thing to me, literally, is yes, I like to sustain my life the way I sustain my life. But the most important thing is that when I get up to meditate, can I still my mind? Do I have enough of my I'll call it, I don't know what to call it, civilian life, but enough of my personal life handled that I'm not constantly running all the things in my head and become thought possessed by how busy I am in business. If I have that kind of a life, I'm miserable. Can anybody else relate to that? It's like, I want to get this, but if I get that, I'm going to be like a hamster on a wheel. So what I've learned is that I put out a really solid effort, and certain things manifest and certain things do not manifest, and certain things manifest in time. One of the statements out of Neville's book, Resurrection, is if I speak it, it begins to manifest. The Hopi Indians believe that there is no past, there is no future, because if they speak, then they believe in their belief system that if I speak it, then it's already manifesting in some form because I've put the word in motion. Therefore, the future is already manifesting towards me by the words I speak. There is no past because my ancestry is contained within my DNA. So therefore, there is no past because they are present right here and now. It's a beautiful belief system that the Hopi Indians have. So what I know is that we may want certain things, but if we frame those certain things with this one statement, if it brings me closer to you, bring it towards me. If it takes me further away, keep it away. There's one thing I learned, I'm not going to tell the whole story now, but there's one thing I learned on a vision quest. That the reason people don't manifest miracles for themselves is because their desire is not strong enough. I'll say that again. The reason we don't manifest miracles for ourselves is because our desire is not strong enough. I'll speak for myself here. Much of what I will do when I really think I want to manifest something is I'll squirrel and my attention will go to multiple different things and my attention will be diffused rather than one pointedly focused. One pointedly focused. And not for just, for 3 minutes I've been one pointedly focused. Oh, gee, I held my heart and said, 15 minutes of affirmations. Should manifest tomorrow. That isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about one pointedly focused for days and weeks. This is where I desire to go. You think about it, you speak it, you visualize it, you speak it more, and you continue to desire it and long for it like a lover longs for its beloved. When that happens, and very few things are worthy of that type of focus, by the way, but when you really believe that this is what you want, it takes tremendous focus. If we're going to use our minds in the way I think they were meant to be used, it is a companion to the soul, meaning that, and you've heard it stated over and over and over again, if your mind is focused there, then everything else is added unto you. If your mind is focused here and not there, then you struggle. So I can only share with you, what I have decided to do for myself as far as manifestation goes, is and I know that this isn't typical, and I know it may seem odd to people, and I apologize in advance. But I really do believe if I love God more than I love anything else, and I'm not talking about religion, I abhor religion. I think that the masters came here, and I don't abhor religion. For myself, I'm not a fan. But religion also leads people to other paths that actually are golden for them. So I'll retract that last statement. But what I want to say is that we each have our own individual relationship with whatever that power is. And when it is steeped in that sense of gratitude and that sense of delegation and that sense of appreciation, then we start having more of a relationship. If we long for that, literally everything else is added unto us. So I spend a lot of my time focused there, and then working and looking at what is it that I choose to create financially, because that's a practical way of being in the world. And then how do I do that? Repeating it with my language, internal, external, out of the mouth, visualizing it, feeling the state I want to experience over and repetitively, because part of this is a biological process. What we want to be able to do is feelings, emotions, actually build neurosynaptic connectors that form superhighways through the body. How many of you have who have negative patterns of behavior? We all have negative patterns of behavior. How did we do that? We repeated them, didn't we? We felt it. We repeated it. We spoke about it. We built those negative patterns of behavior by repetition, by emotion, by language. The same way we built those is the very same way that we build empowering habits that create manifestation through repetition, language, and emotion. The issue is that many of us, myself included, is that we don't want what we think we want bad enough. We don't focus on what we think we desire bad enough. And we don't speak it into creation often enough. Our thoughts are electrical charges that follow the path of least resistance. The most conditioned habit becomes stronger and stronger and stronger through the repetition, the action, and the emotion. So, how many of you really, really desire to manifest one thing out in the future for yourself? Like one thing. I've got one thing. Who else has at least one thing they want to manifest? Jan, I'm not seeing your hand up, and I'm waiting for that hand to go up. She thinks she can hide, but she can't. So if we look at that one thing, how often do we spend, or how many hours do we spend thinking about it, feeling it, speaking about it, longing for it, having an emotional connection to it? How often do we do that? How much time do we spend doing it? And this is what I mean, that most of us, we say, oh yeah, we want that. We write it down in a journal. We may make a dream board, but that will be about it. Many of us do other things, which I'm not privy to, but I know for myself, I've done that over and over for years. Mind maps at night, visualizing and feeling it, that helps. But it doesn't happen like that. Never happens like that. Sometimes it does. I remember I went to every astrologer, every numerologist I have ever been to has said this to me. And V knows this. I've been doing this work for close to 40 years now, a long time. And every single person that's ever read my chart says, oh my God, in your 70s, that's when your career really takes off. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me, in my 70s, which I will turn in a couple of weeks, so maybe it's not so bad. And then people will say, but in your 80s, that's when you're like Oprah. And I'm like, in my 80s. Okay, in my 80s. I'll be bloody walking around with, like this old codger, hopefully I won't be like that bad, but I'll be walking around in my 80s expounding from some stage somewhere. And I'm thinking, why my 80s? Oh my God. My whole life, my 80s. I guess that shows you how much time myself needs to program this like literally like a spider monkey on methamphetamine to tame that little guy in there so that I can finally start creating this world and this contribution that I desire to create. A higher part of me says it doesn't matter at all, because quite frankly, there is no time. It's just the evolution of consciousness. So there's a part of me that just doesn't give a poo. And there's a part of me that goes, damn, why couldn't I have done this in my 30s? The bottom line is that I haven't wanted it bad enough. You know that when the clock is ticking, you feel like you have to put the pedal to the metal for what you've claimed your life to be about and the legacy that you want to leave, because then you have less breaths to make that happen. So every single one of us are on this call tonight with something that only you can do. There's something that you fill this thread in the tapestry of humanity that if you don't full on evolve yourself to the highest expression that you can and do what your soul actually came here to do, then I believe in my belief system that humanity goes unfulfilled. So it's my job to step out of my comfort zone and do stuff that I've never done before and commit deeper than I've ever committed before. Because quite frankly, gang, when it's gone, it's gone. When our breaths are used, they're used, and there isn't anything that can stop that wheel of time from rolling out. So it's best we use the breaths we have to focus the mind on creating that connection so that when that connection is truly formed, then manifestation becomes far, far easier. More importantly, the peace we create in ourselves and therefore the contribution we can make to other people is far greater. And it all comes down to this one thing. Our infinite self is encased in a physical body. We've spent a lifetime trying to figure out how we can operate fluidly and effectively with the mind and with the physical form. And it is time that we learn how to master that so that we can actually be the angels on the planet that I think we all came here to be. And when we can do that, then we create this massive push forward of, I think, elevating the entire creation up. I mean, I think, Mark said it really well. This is a community, a conscious community of people creating an evolutionary step forward so that we create, the me to the we to the us. And I love that statement out of the principles of Noble Goldman, because I do believe that we walk hand in hand into heaven with our brothers and sisters, which means when we become as judgeless and as accepting of differences that we can be, that's when we start to evolve ourselves and help other people evolve. And I don't think there's anything higher for any of us to do but that. But it begins first with the nano strategies we're doing in the 6 or 7 inches between our ears. I know in my mind, I keep thinking, well, I'm just talking and I'm just having a good time today. And, everything's all good. And then, oh, look at that person over there. God, I can't believe that they wore those shoes with that dress. And look how disheveled they looked. And my mind's like, meh, it's like sort of like cross-wired. And then I'm thinking, oh, what am I doing? I'm making myself miserable judging everyone. But the mind will just deviate like that. Can anybody else relate to that? So, I mean, the bottom line for all of us, catch it, reel it back, focus on where we're going, cancel clear what you've just said and judged, and say my highest choice for that person is they get the love and the joy and the peace and make the contribution their life's meant to make here. It's the only thing I'm saying. Are you all with me? So think about making a condemnation towards someone, because we're all doing it. We all judge, we all condemn, we all do all that. And it's a trap, one of the biggest that we could ever have. What if, just for 1 week, we actually focused on our outcomes, harnessed our language, went to sleep in this gorgeous feeling of what it is, the deep thing we want to manifest. We actually did our meditation, got 3 names of God, repeated it over and over like a lover would call out to its beloved. And then when we like went off course with a methamphetamine amped out monkey in our heads, and we reeled it back, and because we're judging or condemning someone, and then we said, my highest choice for that person is that they fulfill their life function and awaken to the love they actually are. That's it. Because our subconscious mind takes every word out of here as if it's a spoken about ourselves. So every condemnation we wield is a self-condemnation. And if we start to clean up just these tiny fundamental aspects of what each one of us is doing daily, our whole vibrational resonance rises. Now, that's the challenge. Hold on for just a minute, Jules.
Yeah.
The challenge that I want to give us all is that we just do that for just a week. Just a week. If we did just those 4 or 5 things, I think our week would be spectacular. I think our joy would rise exponentially. And the ability to focus our minds and create more of what we wanted, which ultimately is peace, then I think that will come to us easier. Because as our self-esteem begins to rise, because this is where I think the real secret of manifestation is, as our self-esteem begins to rise based upon the vibrational resonance within ourselves, because life, you attract like and similar energies, and you will only allow the level of success to come to you that you feel worthy of receiving. So as you get in alignment with the deepest principles inside of you, and you are congruent and consistent with that, your self-esteem rises. That attracts greater success to you. And that is, in my opinion, out of all the things I've learned, those few things are like the core of how we manifest. Language, thought, a deep longing for the divine, a resonance and a connection to that. Then we're more congruent and more aligned to what our soul's been here to do. With that, our self-esteem rises because we're so congruent with our core deep values, and more success generates to us. I will say, and thank you, Callie, for that, it is an expanded belief system. It is the most expanded belief system because it encompasses literally all things. And Jules, you had something that you wanted to.
Oh, you just said a sentence, and it was really quick, and it was just beautiful.
I can never remember what I say when I'm in that state, Jules. So that's impossible.
You just said your biggest wish for people would be to fulfill their life function and something.
And soul's purpose.
And soul's purpose, okay. Thank you.
Ultimately,
I'm just greedy. I want to lap it all up, you see.
I had the great good fortune of sitting at the bedside of many people who died of AIDS, because that's where I launched my career. So I had the blessing of seeing many people die. And out of that, I learned something really that has stuck with me my entire life. And that is that doesn't matter the length of time you have in the body. What matters is what you learned while you were in the body, and the peace you have when you transition. And I will say that I want to walk into death like I'm in my wedding day at my wedding. That I'm gonna finally go home and be married to the one I love, the one that I really love. And that is that's how I want my death to be. So, gang, that moment defines that moment defines our next incarnation. And thank you, Callie. Yes, that's what meditation is all about, to return home while we are still here. But the ultimate, I guess, and God, that was so brilliant that you said that, Callie, because, the ultimate goal of any meditation is to die while you're still alive. And what I mean by that is to have your soul ascend into the inner realms and still be here present in the physical form. To be that connected to the inner realms where you're in bliss all the time, and be walking around extending that awakening to other people, not in an ego-driven way, but by a smile, by a gesture of love, by a gesture of kindness. These are all possible things to have. But people, when they die, they die either clawing at their sheets to stay in their body, because at that moment of time, there's no denial. And they know at that moment whether their soul did what it came here to do or whether it did not. And either we die in regret because we know we didn't, because our mind was focused on all the shiny objects and the empty relationships and our family of origin, which are just karmic relationships that we come into this lifetime with, or it was focused on creating a relationship with something higher, and they're dying in this bliss of knowing that they did what they came here to do. There's no escaping. Every one of us is going to face that moment. And at that moment, there's going to be no denial, because that moment is the accumulation of where our mind has been focused for our entire lives. So if we are thinking about, oh, gee, should I go over here? Oh, gee, I have to go and do more squats at the gym because my booty just isn't tight enough. Or, gee, I want to be able to, eat whatever I want to eat. And, oh, gee, I want George down the road to like me. If our minds are doing all of that, and they keep doing it consistently, it's not going to be pretty. We're going to die in a sea of unfulfilled desire. And Buddha said it best, you go where your desires are. So some of us will, and none of it's good or bad. I want to make that point really clear. None of it's good or bad. All it means is that the desire, the wheel of desire, keeps rolling and rolling, incarnation after incarnation after incarnation. And so let's say you're so attached to your family of origin. Not right, not wrong. All it means is that you'll incarnate another couple lifetimes with that same pod of people and work through your karmic destiny with them until you don't. All of us have done this for eternity. Until we get to the place where we understand that I am licking stones, especially when I'm in all these relationships, thinking that my happiness is them, when actually it's not. When we practice the meditational practice that I gave many of you to do, it's that we start rising up into a higher level of, I want that. And if I die wanting that and that alone, that's where I'll go. And it isn't out of fear, it's out of love. None of this has actually fulfilled you, ultimately. None of it. There's always this tiny little ache in our heart of a disconnect, of a longing, of a lack of fulfillment, until we actually start to experience some of the experiences on the inside. And that's when we start getting the true nourishment. Now, I know like a lot of this is just words right now. And I will say I've gotten glimpses of it. I'm certainly no master of it. But I do know that that is the way that my heart knows I have to go, or I have to spend the rest of my breaths in that activity, and to move more towards harnessing the power of my mind and going forward. No one is doing it wrong or incomplete. We're doing it according to what our desires have rolled out. What I'm speaking about is, if we want to begin to start building more joy, more automatic manifestation, then we have to have our thoughts, our words, and our actions directly in alignment with our highest held values, with a spiritual purpose and a spiritual anchor, so that we grow that capability in ourselves till we can look our life in hindsight and say, I did what I came here to do, and I am complete. When we can do that, then I think we've had an awesome journey. Now, I have no idea where all that came from and why I'm even on this track of conversation, but I'll blame it on V. So I would just love to hear, and Callie, you got your hand up, so we'll go to you first, but I would love to hear what you feel like you want your life to culminate in. Because when we at least begin to start setting that goal, no narrative about the past, just setting that objective of where it is on that moment of our transition, what is it that we want to have done, experienced, and what is the emotional state we want to dance out of our bodies in? So Callie, I'm gonna go to you first because your little hands up.
Beautiful. I appreciate everything you just said, because that's what I believe as well. Like, I believe that when we leave this body, if we want no thing, then we leave and we go straight into its purity of unity to God, like the universal God, whatever you want to call it, yeah. and heaven. Like, there's no separation, because while we're here, we're learning the ways to no longer be separate from, like you said, it's in our DNA cells from our whole family lineage. And like at the minute, I've got this breast lump and I've had it for a few years, and they've always said it's just a clump of cells. And my whole family had breast cancer and things like that. And I'm about to go for a test. And then I did a session with V, and all I really want is to be God in a body, but not in the ego way. Like, I know you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And so I feel that is total surrender to what is my soul's calling, and how I feel, act, think is part of that. But in the long run, it's being non-attached to wanting anything, just being. I am. And that's what I want. Like, when I did the session with V, I am. And I don't mean that in, like, V knows what I'm talking about. And so that's what I want for humanity. So when you asked what do I want, I actually wanted for humanity. I didn't go into what I want. I went into what I want for humanity is what I want. To awaken human beings, like, to their pure unconditional love. And that's what I want for myself too. I want to be just able to have freedom. And I've got this web thing I'm building, and it's called Speak from Freedom. But it's freedom from being able to speak from unconditional love.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Callie. Thank you so much for that contribution. I really appreciate it. Would anybody else like to share? Lisa, you're unmiked, so I'm thinking you probably want to say something. You think you're not unmiked, but you are, darling. So,
Well, here
so
I go.
is there anything you wanna share?
I could listen to you talk for hours. I love it. I get mesmerized by everything you say. Yeah, there is something that I desire, and that connection to divinity is probably, well, it is the most important thing to me. And when I ever get a bit distracted or a bit lost, that's really the only thing that I want, is to get that back. And when I have that, everything's okay. And then I love helping other people find it as well, because when I help other people find it, that's so fulfilling, but then it strengthens my own connection as well. So it's almost a bit selfish, helping other people. But yeah, that's the most important thing in my life, and then everything else comes from there.
No, I totally know. I sometimes after a day of seeing clients, I will just literally hold my heart and I'll have tears coming down my face in gratitude for the job I have because of how connected I feel. I'm truly grateful to God. It's an awesome
Yeah.
it's an awesome thing to help people. It's incredibly important, and we need more of us out there doing it. You know. V, would you like to share? Thank you for that, Lisa.
Firstly, Gary, you couldn't do this in your 30s because you were having way too much fun.
I was a very wild pony in my 30s, and that's very true. Good on you, V. I was too busy dressing in leather and hanging out in seedy places, you know, it's like.
I think we all need that experience to get to a point where we go, okay, well, I've learned all this stuff now, so now it's time for me to actually employ it and and help others. And yeah, I'm at that stage. I agree very much with Lisa as well, and Carly gets this as well. So when you're, when you're with people and you're helping them through a process and they come out the other side and they're just glowing and bouncing off the walls almost, it's yeah, I want more of that. It's really conduit for healing. Yeah.
No kidding. So Carolee or Stan the Man or Joe, who's probably away from his computer, and or Jan, would any of you like to share? Carolee.
Sure. What you guys said, everything, that is really, yeah, helping other people, but also that being lit up thing. And I think it's, you use different words for it, Gary, but that sort of, I can't even think of what your words were at the moment, but you know how when things are really actually look like they're glowing, people look like they're glowing because it's all just so awesome. More of that for myself and for everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's where we're all heading for. That's where we're all heading. And Kate, do you have anything that you want to share, darling? You may or may not, and that's cool. I just want to give everybody an opportunity. Your reception may be...
I'd be happy to.
Kate, your reception's pretty poor. We can't hear.
My phone's playing up. It keeps falling over. Bad.
Oh, she dropped
Okay,
out.
I'll leave it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Can you hear me? Okay. I just wanted to say that I am where I am, where I wanted to be, where I manifested, in one with nature.
Nice.
We are in a place that feels like the Daintree, and a kangaroo is right there. And we're helping the wildlife. We saved a kangaroo yesterday. This is where I wanted to be. I wanted to help the wildlife, and we're helping with volunteer with the local wildlife, feeding and taking care of animals, and the kids are loving it. Everything that I've manifested and received through your guidance and everyone's guidance has helped me get where I wanted to be in life.
Awesome. It sounds like a little slice of heaven.
Helping people every day. Yesterday we picked up a lady that was stuck on the side of the road. Still just being one with nature, being happy. Yes, financial would be good, but I'm where I need to be. So it's all good. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Joe, my eyes have gone to you for some inexplicable reason. Why don't you tell us your thing that you want to create for yourself, my friend?
I'm only half with it today. I came in late because I was on like an emergency Reiki session, and the one part that really did stick with me of what you were talking about was that helping others, that love, that desire, and how it almost makes you, like you said, you just, hold your heart and cry. I mean, for me, I'm sitting here in reflection while all these energies are running through me. And I'm grateful that I was there and I could clear my schedule to be there for the person that I just did like almost an hour and 45-minute Zoom call with. But just to know that she left the call in a better place, and she's, you know, just mentally, emotionally, spiritually in a better place, it warms my heart. And I mean, if I died tomorrow, I just know that I die a happy man, that I helped at least one person live a better life. And that is what I'm so grateful for, is that I've been able to turn the living hell that I've had into something meaningful, instead of living that life I hate and going to my deathbed, you know, just bitter, angry, and, you know, F this, F that, and F everyone, you know. At least this way, you know, with the life I'm living now, whatever I may see, you know, presented to me as I'm passing, you know, I'll be able to look at those beginning years in fear and, you know, scared, but I'll look at those last few years like, damn, I really did turn it around, and I really did make a world of difference for, you know, myself, my son, and all those who I, you know, helped already with the Reiki that I've been doing. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Well, thank you, Joe. Could I offer you a little coaching?
Of course.
My invitation would be, start speaking of your past like a living university.
A living lesson.
Yeah. Because, you know, you would not have the open heart you have unless you got beat up a little bit by life. And you got beat up a little bit by life, and it opened your heart to the profound lesson of really what matters. And what you're discovering currently is what really matters. And you wouldn't have been this without that. So it all works in this perfect unison, like a planet rotating in space. One end of your pain is a beginning of your joy and awakening. And if the pain brought about the awakening, then it can't really be pain. It has to be part of the process of awakening. For what it's worth. Julie, do you have something that you'd like? You're very welcome. Do you have something you'd like to share, Joel? A thing that you want to create in the future?
Oh.
Like what you want to create out of your life?
All those things you talked about. To be of great use, and also to have healed myself so that I can feel the freedom to just be and be around, to be of use. My an astrologer once told me that, you know, in my esoteric astrology, that I was a goat. You see, I'm a Capricorn, and I would climb to the top of the mountain. And when I got to the top of the mountain, I would pivot. And I had this picture of me doing a pirouette. And then I would reach down and help others up the mountain. And I think that's a beautiful metaphor for how I feel.
Yeah, beauty.
I just didn't expect the journey to be quite so tough to learn.
Or the lessons quite so complex.
Yeah, the lessons quite so tough to learn, and then you think you're getting there, and then boom, some more to learn.
Well, thank you, Jules. Yeah. Thanks for that, darling. Stan the man.
That's probably a tough one, but I suppose I'm kind of going to steal one from the on-purpose person, and that would be to be an on-purpose person and teach others to be on purpose.
Oh, you're doing that, Stan, which is awesome. You know, you're well on the road to doing that, my friend. And, you know, just keep honing your skills and gathering up more information to be able to create change quicker and faster and deeper, and you're on your road.
Sounds good.
Thanks for that. Jan.
I think for me, I need to start building my self-esteem so that I can put that out there for people to know who my inner self is, and to be able to attract like-minded people. So I have people that are needy in my life, and I think that's coming from me, I guess. I need to change that around. So.
Yeah. Take some more risks, Jan, because in the risk taking, you expand. Remember, there's no growth in our comfort zones. So when we stretch outside where it makes us uncomfortable, draw boundaries with people, tell the truth kindly but valiantly, and you'll start growing exponentially.
Thank you.
You're welcome, darling. Caroline, is there? We already spoke though, didn't we? You said your bit. Great. V.
Yeah, I did as well. So I think we've all.
Oh, we've completed it.
We've completed the circle.
I know. Geez, we've come all the way around.
Yeah.
V, I want to thank you for that topic. Whatever it was.
It was brilliant.
Let's do our usual and stay on the call, V, because I got to talk to you some more. So, gang, let's do our usual closing. A word or a sentence that you'd like to leave with the group, and we'll go from there. So, V, hit it.
I come back to one I've used before, but it's see past the personality into the soul.
Great. Lisa?
Oh, I'm also going to use one I've used before, and that is connection.
Great. And Joe?
The only thing echoing through my skull right now is it's bigger than you.
Nice. Jules? You're muted, darling.
I imagine a lot of people are grateful for that. No. Trust just comes from trust.
Thank you. And Kate? Kate, you there?
Yeah, I'd say practice.
Practice, beautiful. Stan?
Vision will be my word today.
Okay. Carolee?
A thing that you said to Joe actually was the past is a living university. I like that.
Oh, it was good. It came out of nowhere. So that's good. Thanks. And Jan?
Building connections.
Awesome. And Lisa? Oh, I already called you, didn't I, Lisa? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Yeah, where's Callie? I got to hit my button. Okay. Callie?
You're very quiet.
Got nothing.
Ah, that's not like you.
All right. Just be.
Okay, that's great. And V, you already shared, right?
Yes, that's everybody, I think.
Well, mine is determination.
Joe, did you actually have a word? What was yours?
I had a phrase.
The speed.
It's bigger than you.
Yes.
Nice.
Nice.
Okay, gang.
Your word for the year, I think, Gary.
Yeah, I know. Just gang, it's really a joy and pleasure to see you all. And we'll see you next week. And V, hang out.
Sure.
Okay, gang. See you later.